Well, welcome everybody. Really great to see so many of you joining us at this Launchpad Collective talk this evening. So, my name is Hilary Ellis, and I'm a volunteer career coach with the Launchpad Collective. So I've been through that. I've met quite a number of you and other participants over the last year or so. And what I do is help people to get a job. So let's just see how this goes. Oops, I'm trying to push this. Okay. So, overview of the. Okay, first of all, we'll start with an overview of the UK jobs market, because it's quite interesting to see, what does that look like? What kinds of jobs are out there? Then we'll do a real in-depth look at, so how do you find a job? It's not always very obvious. We'll touch on then applying for a job. We'll take a little look at work culture in the UK, and we'll finish with just a few words on work contracts. But the main part of the presentation is going to be around finding a job. Okay. So, you're all actually in a place which is quite useful, in the sense that in this country we have a skills shortage, which means there are a lot of job vacancies. Lots and lots of organizations are trying to hire workers. We need workers, and in many different industries. So if you're looking for work in the UK, you have a good opportunity, a good chance to find secure permanent employment. However, finding work in the UK can feel quite challenging. There are many different kinds of information available. There's different kinds of qualifications you need. And sometimes the process can seem very confusing. So let's start with this overview of the UK jobs market. Like any country, we have a range of different job sectors. So the shops and wholesalers, logistics, healthcare, social care, which is caring for people either in their homes or in care homes. That might be adults, it might be children. There's lots of areas of professional and technical jobs, particularly in science subjects, administration of all types, customer support of different types. Education is a big sector. Accommodation and food, it's collectively known as hospitality in the UK. So that's everything from hotels to cafes to restaurants, that sort of thing. The construction sector is very good. So that's everything to do with building, either building houses or building commercial property like offices or shops. And we also have a very big public sector, that is to say government jobs, either in things like the National Health Service, our famous NHS, or the civil service, both nationally, that is working for the government, or working for local government, local councils. And those employ a lot of people. So sectors which are currently experiencing skills shortages offer a really good opportunity for people who have come here as refugees and are looking for jobs, if you have the right skills. As we mentioned before, that includes the health service, care workers of all types, anything to do with science, chemistry, physics, biology, anybody with a scientific background. Civil engineers, so they're engineers who work in construction. And then again, any kind of engineers, they might be mechanical, electrical, electronics engineers, engineering skills are highly sought, as is any skills in IT, from business analysts and business analysts, business architects, IT systems designers, IT graphic designers, software developers. IT, there's lots of jobs. And of course, AI, artificial intelligence, is a growing area. We also don't have enough architects, believe it or not, and we don't have enough vets, and they're people who look after sick animals. So quite a lot of skill shortages in the UK. So, okay, so how do you actually find a job then? So there are a number of ways to find a job in the UK. Depending on the sector you choose and the specific role or the specific job you're looking for, some or all of the options here below are a good way to find a job. So there's job websites, recruitment agencies, company websites, and that includes local authorities, your local council, social media, and then there's also options for being self-employed and being either running your own little company or what's something called freelancing. And then the other way to get into work is through an apprenticeship or a traineeship. And that's where you sort of study and work at the same time. So what we're going to do now is kind of a deep dive into some of these different areas, because if you're looking for a job, you might want to do some or all of these things, but you probably will be doing more than one. So let's start with finding a job. It's very easy to think in this country that the only place you can find a job is your local job centre, where you go to sign on for your benefits. But that is not the case. Most people find jobs in this country through these kinds of job websites. And I think, Kateba, we're going to make this presentation available for you afterwards, because everything listed here has got a link for you to go straight to the website. So there's many, many, many job websites. There are some which are general, and that's to say they cover the entire country and they have lots of different kinds of jobs. And then there are specialized job websites, and those are concentrating on a particular sector. So as you can see from here, there's everything from marketing and advertising to charities to IT to engineering, local government, financial services. There's lots of different sort of specialized job sites that you might want to look at. And then there are the government websites, and particularly for roles and jobs in sectors with skill shortages, there's the Find a Job website. Or for jobs in the National Health Service, there's a particular website. Although I have to say that the National Health Service website wasn't working when I looked at it a week or so ago, but hopefully it is now. And then I also mentioned jobs with local councils. And there, the best thing to do is to look at your local council website, and they will have a careers and jobs section where they will have their open vacancies. So as you can see, when it comes to finding a job, there are lots of different websites that you can look at. And particularly the general websites, look at all of them. Look at all of them when you start job hunting, because you can search on those websites by location, by industry, by type of job. So it gives you a very, very easy way to come up with the type of jobs that you might be looking for. So the next thing is recruitment agencies. These are also known as employment agencies. and they work for companies and organizations. And those companies and organizations ask the recruitment agencies to find suitable candidates to fill their vacancies. And most, but not all, recruitment agencies specialize in a particular sector or a particular industry. Many of the recruitment agencies will also advertise their jobs on those websites we were just looking at, but it's also worthwhile going direct to the agencies themselves because you can log your CV with them. You can upload your CV with the agency so they know that you're looking for a job. And then when they're asked by a company or an organization to look for candidates, they will do an online search in their database. And if you're in there with your CV and you have the skills and experience that they're looking for, they could well contact you and say, we'd like we'd like to talk to you about this job. And this website, the Agency Central website, is the place to go for finding and contacting recruitment agencies that are looking for people to fill jobs in many different sectors. So, and that's both permanent jobs and temporary jobs. So it covers all sorts of things from very professional, high-level jobs to things like warehouse jobs, working in a shop, working as a cleaner. It covers the whole jobs market. So very, very useful website. The other place to look is company websites. So it might be that you are interested in working in a particular industry, and when you have a look on Google, if you Google that industry, so it might be, I don't know, pharmaceutical industry, or it might be, I don't know, let's think, it might be working in an estate agent, selling houses, selling property. You might be interested in becoming working in an estate agent. Then if you Google that, it'll come up with a list of estate agents. If you then go to their website, they will always have a section on About Us. And they will also have a section, very often, on careers. Nearly all company websites will have a tab about careers, and that's where they advertise their jobs. So another really good way to be able to apply for a job is through a company website. So that's another good place to look. And even if they don't have a job available that is the kind of job you're looking for, very often you can upload your CV so that they have it on their database. And again, like the recruitment agencies, when they're looking for candidates for a job, if you're on their database and that you've got the skills and experience they're looking for, they may well contact you and say, we've got a job which you might be interested in. And of course, their About Us pages, which tells you about the company itself, not just their products, but about the company, is always very useful when you're preparing your CV or when you're preparing for an interview. Okay, so the other alternative to working in an organization is to work for yourself. And I think this week we, with TLC, we had, it could have been yesterday, is it? If I'm not wrong, Kateva, there's been a talk about being self-employed. And if you've been given permission to work in the UK, then you also have the right to start your own business and register with the tax authorities as self-employed. Sometimes people talk about freelancers and contractors. So freelancers and contractors are self-employed people who tend to work on many different projects for different clients. And they generally take instructions from their clients on how the work is done and what the client expects from you. So it's a little bit different to having your own business where you decide everything. So a typical kind of freelancer might be somebody who works in IT, and a company will hire them as a freelancer or as a contractor to work on a specific project for a specific amount of time. And then after that project's finished, that person will then go and work for another company on another project. If you do decide to start your own business, the easiest option is to begin as what is called a sole trader. It's very simple, very easy, and you don't have to submit any kind of difficult information to the tax authorities or anything. It's all very straightforward. So the one thing I would say, though, is because you are responsible for paying your own national insurance contributions and your own income tax to the UK authorities, you need to understand all of that. And it's a really good idea to get advice from an accountant before you become self-employed. And once you are self-employed, having an accountant to help you fill in your tax forms and all of that is a good investment, and it often doesn't cost that much money. You're talking maybe £200, and that might sound a lot of money today, but if you've got a company and you're making money, it saves you a lot of time and effort, and you know that everything will be done properly. So that was a lot of information, wasn't it? I understand that. But, so how do you apply for a job? Well, first place is your job search. So, look back on all those methods we explored in the previous section and start looking for jobs. If your skills and experience match the job specification or the job description, then you're ready to apply. So how do you go about applying for a job? Well, first of all, research the company you want to work for in more detail, because that will help you make sure that your CV and your cover letter are properly tailored. That is to say that they are really relevant for the job you're applying for. It's really important to tailor your CV for each application that you make, because it shows that you've got the specific skills and experience the recruiter is looking for. And it also helps you to explain properly why you want to work for that particular company in any email or covering letter or form you have to fill in online to say why you want the job. So once you've made your application, hopefully you'll get invited for an interview. First interviews are very often online, typically on Microsoft Teams or on Zoom, like we are tonight. And then if you are shortlisted after that first interview, and shortlisted means that the company or the organization is seriously thinking of choosing you and a few other candidates for the job, and they want to talk to you again, you cannot get asked back for a second or even a third interview. And that might also be on Zoom or on some other thing like Teams, but it might be face-to-face. You might be asked to actually go to the company and have a face-to-face interview with them. It's really important to prepare for your interview so you can speak in a professional and confident way. And it's always a very good idea to think about beforehand, think about some of the questions you might get asked, and to prepare some questions that can help you ask the interviewer at the end. And we have lots of resources around all of this in TLC, and this is where your mentors and coaches can help you a lot in navigating some of this. The other thing, of course, is your qualifications. Many of you might already be familiar with what's called the UK ENIC, and this is the National Information Centre for Recognition and Evaluation of International Qualifications and Skills. This is really important because what this organisation does is to compare your overseas qualifications to the UK education system. And so it can give you a indication of what UK qualifications, your own ones from your own country are equivalent to, and employers will be very happy to see that. It's very important to do that. And of course, language requirements. Being able to speak at least basic English is essential for just about all jobs in this country. And if you want to get a better job, if you want to get a more professional job, then the better your English, the better chance you will have. Mainly because in your job, you'll need to speak to other people, you might have to write things, and you'll need to listen to people. So having good English skills is always going to be give you an advantage. And of course, for some jobs, being able to speak other languages as well is a real benefit. And that's where many of you will really score, because you will almost certainly speak more than 1, 2, maybe 3 languages. So that's a real benefit. Just a few words on work culture in the UK. The UK is known, and this isn't only the UK, but I would say a lot of European countries, I'd say Western countries, like the European countries, the UK, same in Canada, USA, Australia, etc. Places like Singapore. The UK, like all those other countries, is known for having a very strong work ethic, which means being prepared to work hard and often to work quite long hours. The standard working week is usually about 40 hours or up to 48 hours, but sometimes you might be expected to work longer than that. If you work in the health service, for instance, you often do 12-hour shifts. It's quite common. So otherwise, it's usually 8 hours a day. In UK companies and organisation, like in most parts of the world, managers and other senior staff make most of the key decisions in the company. That's normal. But in the UK, employees are generally also expected to take responsibility for the work they're doing. So in the UK, when you're working, people won't tell you all the time what to do. You'll agree with your manager or your supervisor what it is that needs to be done, and then you're expected to take responsibility for doing it. So it's great, actually, because in the UK you often do get responsibility, and that's a good thing. In most companies, when you start, you'll have what's called a probation period, and that's usually about 3 months, when you're kind of in your first learning the job. And at the end of that time, you might continue or not, but we'll come on to that when we look at contracts. Anyway, working as a team is very important in the UK. So if you're somebody who's able to build relationships and you like collaborating with other people, that will help you a lot. Some businesses in the UK have lots of meetings. Now, that can take up a lot of time, but actually meetings are quite good things because you get to meet other people. And also you get to learn a lot about the company, about the company's products, about customers, whatever it is. It's a great place to learn things. So meetings, they might take time, but they're a great place to learn. British people are generally quite known for their sense of humour, and most people in this country like to have a bit of fun while they're working, and that is to say they like working in a friendly environment. Yeah, there's always going to be exceptions, like anywhere in the world. There are sometimes that it can all go wrong and it's not such a nice environment, but in most cases, you'll find that people are friendly towards each other, and yeah, like to have a bit of bit of fun at work sometimes, but the friendly environment is the most important thing. Um, and since the COVID-19 pandemic, many companies now offer working from home. And that could be anything from being fully home based, so you only work online, or a mix of home and going into the office or going into the shop or whatever. Obviously, if you work in retail, if you're working in a shop or a restaurant, then you kind of have to go in. If you work in a factory, you have to go in, but there are lots of jobs where you can work partly from home, and that's great, particularly if you have family responsibilities. It also means you don't spend so much money on traveling to work, so it can be very helpful. Oops. Work contracts is the last one, I think. Yes, am I right? Yes, work contracts. So you should always receive an employment contract for any job in the UK. And if you don't, then you should ask for one because it's not normal if you don't get one. And what's important about your contract is it details what's called the terms and conditions associated with your job. And this includes things like your hours of work and how much you'll be paid. It'll tell you how many days annual holiday, annual leave. And in the UK, that's a minimum of 28 days for a full-time job. And that includes UK public holidays. So that's very important. And then this famous notice period. And that's the amount of time an employee has to work for their employer, either after they resign, because it might be that you start working somewhere and you decide you don't like it and you want to go somewhere else, so you want to leave. Or it might be that all of a sudden you're offered a better job and you want to leave because there's another job you want to go to, which perhaps pays you more money. So you're entitled to leave a job if you want to. And it can also be that the employer can ask you to leave for different reasons. And most cases, that's either because at the end of a probation period, that's the first 3 months, it kind of feels that the job isn't working out, and so you, after three months, you decide, okay, that job didn't work, either for the employer or for you, so you decide to go somewhere else. Or it can be that sometimes the employer is perhaps not doing so well financially, and they are forced to make some people what's called redundant. That is that you can lose your job because the company can't afford to employ you anymore, or it might be that the company is decided to move their office to another part of the country. And if it's not convenient for you to move, then you'll be offered redundancy. And generally, if you're made redundant, you do get compensation. So they pay you some money to help you while you're looking for another job. Then some admin things when you start working in the UK, or if you decide to become self-employed, the UK revenue, that's HMRC, will give you a tax reference number. And that's very important. You must always keep that number very precious. You need to know it. And the other thing you'll need is a national insurance number. But if you're claiming any benefits, such as universal credit or housing benefit, anything like that, you've probably already got one. And it's also very, very important for when you want to claim your UK old age pension. So that national insurance number is also a very precious thing. So always make sure you know what it is. Okay, so that's our talk for this evening.